All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Hunoke. To start off, let's offer a greeting, a bow to our heavenly parents and true parents. 천진 참부모님께 경배, 바로. Today we'll read Family Pledge number 6. 6. 전일국 주인, 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중시하고 하늘 부모님과 참부모님의 내신 가정으로서 전우를 움직이는 가정이 되어 하늘의 축복을 주변에 연결시키는 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 6. Our family, the owner of Cheongguk, pledges to become a family that moves heavenly fortune by embodying the heavenly parent and true parents, and to perfect a family that conveys heaven's blessings to our community by centering on true love. And to open us up in prayer today, I'd like to ask Pastor Barbara.
Let's pray. Good morning, Heavenly Parent. We thank you for this beautiful morning. We thank you for this chance to gather together as brothers and sisters to share in your words. We thank you especially for our true mother. We thank you for her sharing her beautiful story with us. Thank you for Nancy, who shares such beautiful reflections on Mother's words. And we just pray that we can open our hearts this morning to hear what you have to say to us. And we can walk in alignment with your providence. And we can bring about a great victory and finally usher in the kingdom of heaven on earth. We offer this prayer in the name of all our brothers and sisters here, and in my name, Andrew and Barbara Robertson, the Blessed Central Family. Aju.
Okay, so very quickly we're gonna go into a just 30 seconds of stretching. So everyone, let's reach our hands to the heavens, arms up to the heavens. Oh, and then good stretch, and then to the side, go backwards, fix your posture a little bit. Your bad posture, yeah, we all got that. All right, now rotate your head around counterclockwise. I'll go clockwise now. Clockwise. And then our shoulder shrugs backwards. And forward. I'm gonna give yourself a shake, wake yourself up. I need to be woken up myself. Wake yourself up, and we're back. Okay, so now we're gonna go into our breakout. Let's take the next few minutes to think about what you're grateful for. What are you grateful for this morning? Share with whoever you're paired up with in your breakout, and we'll be back here to share with everyone else. See you all soon. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful sharing in your breakout. I'd like to first call on Carol Pobans, to share with us her gratitude point this morning. You're muted on Carol. There we go.
Yeah. You're going to hear different things than I shared earlier because I became inspired by some of the things. What I'm really grateful for especially in the sharing, is that you hear different perspectives from different people on what they're grateful for, and it kind of primes the pump in a sense. It primes our mind to deeper understanding. So even this morning, I was a little fuzzy when I got on, but in hearing different perspectives we had 5 people in our sharing, and in hearing those, it answered, some of the questions that I had this morning. I was thinking so much about, how do we present God to our community? I have a meeting coming up next week. How do I present God to this person? And I think Alexa mentioned how grateful she is that there is a north, that there is actually a standard. And even Father used to speak about how we need a measuring post. If we need a compass, you have to know where north is in order to know your direction, or you need to have a measuring stick that everybody uses the same. So it made me think about that. Anyway, because of what she said, I have some inspiration for today, and because of things that the other people said as well, I have inspiration. So I'm so grateful for the sharing of ideas from everybody, because it helps us to clear our mind, and it helps God to speak to us in a greater way. So I hope that's understandable. It's a little bit different than what I said, but
That's
what I'm
perfectly
grateful
fine.
for.
Thank you, Aunt Carol. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And speaking of Alexa, I also had the Ward couple in my breakout, so I'd like to call Thomas and Alexa Ward, the Ward couple.
Okay. Yeah, I mentioned that I was very grateful for Reverend Dunkey's letter of June 14th. It's a very thoughtful letter in which he kind of outlines what the plans are going forward. And I was touched by his sensitivity to the past, that his plan is to continue the morning devotion, and morning Hundoke, and on a local level. But that at the center of that would be the Chuncheon, and also mother's autobiography. And I really feel that, and he also emphasizes that we have to be aligned, because the task ahead of us is so big. And the only way that it can really happen is that if we are properly aligned, particularly centering on the Chuncheon, then the spirit world has the wherewithal, because of us, to do what needs to be done. And that was very, very inspiring to me. And it was very nice to be in the group that we were with this morning with Pastor Resfriend. Very nice. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Carol mentioned my main point, one of my 2 main points, the notion of north. When I need some inspiration, that's the sort of way I think about it. Or when I need grounding, not inspiration, more grounding or more clarity, I think, okay, where's north? Where's north? And somehow that helps me, and then I can quickly connect to something. If I say to myself, oh, I have to connect to God, then it's just God I have to connect to. But if I have to connect to north, it's broader for me. It's anyway, it's very, very helpful in the moment. And then the other point I mentioned was Heavenly Parents, Holy Community. I just love this from the very day Mother mentioned it. And it for me, it's one family under God, Heavenly Parents, Holy Community. And I'm constantly adding people to my holy community. And I love that notion. It's not just your physical family, but actually it's really everybody But to get to the point where you feel that they're part of it and then they are part of it is so precious. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ward. Thank you, Alexa, for sharing with us your gratitude. Yes, compass. I heard the iPhones have internal compasses, so you can check that out. All right, well, then we're going to jump straight into our Hundo K. Yes, we are continuing on learning about Mother's life, Mother's course, and now today we're on chapter 4. Chapter 4, God's light shines upon a path of thorns. So let's open up our hearts and minds to learn more about our true mother.
Welcome to Mother of Peace, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. A memoir by Hak Jahan Moon, a production of the Washington Times Global Media Group, narrated by Alison Hiroto. As the 1970s approached, it still was a turbulent time for the world. North and South Korean discord threatened to flare up into another war, and the international situation was volatile. Communism was expanding across the globe on many fronts. Knowing the inhumane brutality of communist governments, from our personal experience, my husband and I launched a very successful educational initiative called Victory Over Communism, VOC. Ours was the only voice in the world to clearly explain the fallacies of its materialistic and atheistic theory, while offering a God-centered counter-proposal. VOC strengthened the resolve and understanding of South Koreans, and it had a huge impact soon after in Japan, turning back its far left-wing factions through peaceful means. At that critical moment, my husband and I once again urged our members, especially the women, to take action. Our Heavenly Parent knows the power of women. Our movement did not truly begin until our couple's holy wedding, because we are a family movement, and it takes a husband and wife to create a family. My husband is the world's foremost champion of women as the moral leaders of the family and society. With this conviction, we called Korean blessed wives to sacrifice their family life for a time and, as missionaries, go to the streets, to the halls of government, to the churches and temples, and from house to house, to provide education, empower the people, and multiply the patriotic spirit. The wives responded. Each entrusted their young children, and sometimes ill elderly parents, to their husband's care, and set out. The mother is the center of the family, and when she is not home, even for a day or two, the family suffers. Our wives and mothers went out, not for a day or two, but for 3 years. For every father who had to cradle and feed a child begging for his mother's milk, a mother on mission was squeezing milk out of her swollen breasts and weeping. It was almost like Jesus' 3 years of public ministry, or my husband's 3 years in a North Korean labor camp. Wives who were pregnant when going out would return to give birth, and after 100 days, go back to their mission field. After the 3 years, when the mothers returned, their youngest children didn't recognize them and even resisted them. Such is the incredible sacrifice of heart offered to our Heavenly Parent for the restoration of the world. When a woman has a baby, she experiences the pain of childbirth. Despite this, the midwife's job is to encourage her to push more. Like midwives giving birth to a new world, my husband and I pushed our unification family members. Historically, every time danger appeared, the Korean people, farmers, and loyal patriots defended their homes and their nation. With that spirit, our members rose and defended their homes and nation against communism. My husband counseled these courageous women. The people do not understand unification now, but if the 30 million people of Korea join together with the Unification Church, this nation and these people will not perish. The blessed wives buried their pain in their hearts, for they knew that their mission was for the sake of the nation. In hindsight, their work has borne great fruit and can only be considered the most praiseworthy act of patriotism. Thus far, it has been hidden from view in our nation's history, but one day it will be revealed. As the Unification Church spread to other countries, blessed wives around the world followed the example of the early Korean wives and their families. Thus, this brilliant chapter has been written in the history not just of Korea, but of all nations. All blessed wives stand on this foundation and are carrying on this tradition. It is a story of women sacrificing to preserve the nation and world. One of its fruits appeared 20 years later in our meeting with Mikhail Gorbachev, then president of the Soviet Union. This opened the door to teach the young people of the former Soviet Union our God-centered worldview, the democratic spirit and ethical values, which contributed to the reconciliation of East and West and the downfall of communism. Another fruit was our trip to North Korea in 1991, when we met North Korean leader Kim Il-sung. Our harrowing but thoroughly triumphant visit opened the way for dialogue between North and South Korea and prepared a foothold for our work there. My last moment on earth is approaching. The foundation for our breakthroughs in the Kremlin and North Korea also includes the selfless work of European members. One day in the early 1980s, we received a one-page letter from one of them. It concluded with heart-rending words. My last moment on earth is approaching. This is the last greeting I give you here on earth. I will meet you in the spirit world. Please live a long and healthy life. This young man was behind the Iron Curtain in a communist prison, and this was his final letter, written just before his execution. The instant I read it, my body stiffened, as if my blood had turned cold and blue. My tears froze. I couldn't say anything. I felt like the fabled woman, Mang Buk-seok, who died and turned to stone. I just stood there. My husband and I had to quietly, secretly, hold such beloved people in our hearts. As the true parents of all people, our path, with theirs, was perilous and desperate. Unable to talk with anyone about such things, we could only weep inside and proceed with broken hearts. For many years in Korea, whenever our members gathered, sooner or later, a lively discussion would take place about our movement strategy. We must turn our eyes to the wider world now, someone would say. Another would retort, isn't it too early? We don't even have a church building here in Korea. And a third would join the fray. Okay, so we build an attractive building, but if it's only for Korea, will God like it? Of course, my husband and I were well aware of the issues and knew that both evangelizing internationally and building a strong church in Korea were important. But we steadfastly chose the world over Korea. And as a result, the appearance of our first churches remained shabby. Up until the 1980s, we could not present to the nation even a single decent church building. Our members might have wished to have a place where they could gather with guests and comfortably hold services, but it was not to be. Small A-frame structures with green roofs were all we had. In the public square as well, people ridiculed us, asking why we and our members kept talking about restoring the world when we didn't even have a decent church building. From a humanistic perspective, they had a point. But they did not know the principle. Our church was created for a higher purpose, and we put working for humanity and the world first. The salvation of the world took precedence over our task in Korea. In 1958, our first missionary crossed the sea to Japan, and the next year, a few trusted members pioneered missions in the United States. Given the impoverished state of our Korean church, it was almost unthinkable to start foreign missions in Japan and the United States. But our purpose went beyond being solely a Korean group. To bolster these budding foreign missions, Father Moon undertook a 10-month world tour in 1965. The course included a period where he drove with a few followers to every state in the continental United States to consecrate prayer sites that we call holy grounds in each. He met our missionaries and their young members in the United States, Europe, and other countries, and met prominent public figures, including former U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower. On this momentum, the flow of unification missionaries into Europe, the Middle East, and South America began to rise. Supporting the organization and coordination of all these missions made conditions arduous, both in the mission field and in Korea, and sometimes Korean members would shake their heads and say, "Things are getting worse." But in the 1970s, the divine principle of the Unification Church spread through the world. Many tens of thousands of young people heard the lectures and left their old lives to dedicate themselves to God's providence. It wasn't long before the countries of the world, as though one with accord, gathered their energy to oppose us. But our movement was like a roly-poly toy. The persecution hit us, and we bounced back. It hit us again, and we bounced back again, even stronger.
Thank you for listening to Godable. Visit motherofpeacebook.com to purchase the complete audiobook. Godable is made possible by listeners like you. To donate, visit godable.org. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you to your mother. And to share a quick reflection on it, I'd like to call on Assistant Pastor Nancy Jupp.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, always a lot of points that I get, that come up as we're reading. And so I'm always jotting notes down and things. I thought it was really interesting how Mother was really talking about the sacrifice of the mothers in the early days of the movement. We use a lot of military language, which is kind of understandable given that our church's history is deeply rooted in the end of the Korean War. And we have many male leaders, but typically when you think of the front line and soldiers, you think of the men, and this time it was really the women who went out to really make a difference. And also thinking about the point that Mother made about the midwife encouraging the mother during the childbirth and labor pains really reminds me of my own personal experience with childbirth. But I feel that experience is it's a reflection of the broader religious experience in a sense, because so my first two children were C-sections and my second two children were natural births. And I was only able to do that really because my OB had me take this, it's called hypnobirthing, which sounds really crunchy Californian. Like I was like, oh my God, that's not for me. And it teaches you this breathing technique to actually lean into the pain, to really actually accept the contractions as they come and to kind of ride them out. And it's very different to Lamaze, which Lamaze kind of teaches you to tense up against it and resist. And in practice, I was like, this is so dumb. I'm not sure it'll actually work. But when I was in labor, actually, it really made such a difference in being able to bear the pain, to lean into it, which is so counterintuitive. But when a nurse would come into the room and kind of interrupt me, and I got distracted, the pain would really overwhelm me. And I was like, oh my God, this is much worse. And I feel that that's a reflection of the broader religious experience, actually. True parents have taught us, and all religions essentially try to teach us not to run away from suffering, not to run away from pain and the difficulties that happen in our life, because actually it is through the struggle that we really grow, not just grow in a sense where our knowledge grows, but the lived experience of that struggle is truly a gift that will never leave us. It stretches our heart. It stretches our capacity to really embrace all people, because all people suffer and struggle. And so that point that Mother made about the midwife really, pushing the mother in childbirth felt like that point, even though it was just like one or two sentences, it really hit deeply for me. Yeah. And so, yeah. And then I think just briefly, like I'm so grateful for this sacrifice of all of first generation of those Korean families, but also to all of you guys. I think it's easy to kind of look at the immediate effects. And, as we were reading about the mothers who sacrificed, I couldn't help, I'm second generation. So of course I thought of the children and how resentful they must have felt, and the pain, and I can also understand from first generation's point of view, really the call to serve. And even though maybe some first generation may feel questions, like, was it worth it? Was it actually worth it? Like, I want to say thank you to all of you for all of your sacrifice, because I would not be where I am in my life without standing on the foundation of everything that you guys did. And I could not know the things that I know without all of the sacrifice that you guys made. And no matter how painful it was, I truly believe everyone did the best that they could, knowing what they knew. And yeah, sometimes I really feel like I stand in the merit of the age, like I'm just so lucky to be in the right place at the right time. And that I don't feel it's the era of really sacrificing and martyring ourselves anymore, but that's because of everything that you guys offered before me. And now it's time to heal the wounded soldiers, so that whatever we build in this new era can really be on a strong and deep foundation. So yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Nancy. Now's our time to digest everything and to share anything that came up for you from today's Hunoke. So please share in the next few minutes to who you're paired up with in your breakout. See you all soon. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I didn't realize how quickly time was flying. I'd like to call on the BB's couple once again. God is bringing us ever closer because they have something to share. Go ahead, Robert and Aunt BB.
Good morning, once again.
Mhm.
Maybe the rest of it was cut off. Maybe you want to continue sharing what you were sharing. But I'd just like to say something I didn't share with the rest of it, but I was also very moved by a mother talking about the letter she received from the missionary from behind the Iron Curtain, his last letter. And can't imagine, receiving such a letter. And I know about, we were in Russia for many years, but the sacrifice that we had to make was far less than those who preceded us. And I know that we stood on the foundation of, called the butterfly missionaries, mostly from Europe, to Russia in the 80s, when it truly was dangerous to be there. They were mostly underground missionaries and could not reveal who they were. And then we actually met a few of them when we came in the early 90s. By that time, things were opening up. So I really appreciate, the sacrifice made by those missionaries who went before us and opened the way, for eventually for Father to meet Gorbachev and to open up the whole entire communist realm into God's word for the first time. So that was my kind of reflection on something from Mother's reading this
Thank you. Yeah, my my reflection is, thinking about reading this autobiography, this part, the perspective of those missionaries, the women that did go out, and and it brought to mind to me kind of the way that Father raised us as American women up in the early days, not so early, but my early days. I heard so many times in Belvedere how kind of it always felt like he was saying things like the American woman is a certain kind of way and not so wonderful, not so very great, right? And my takeaway, I always felt so bad, kind of to be a little bit this American woman in some way that really had to be better, and then to read the autobiography, it brings back that idea to me, and I realized how much Father was really trying to raise us up to become women that could really live for the sake of something much, much greater, right? Beyond our individual selves and individual desires. And that in Korea, there were so many women that could, because of their love of God, because of their love of true parents, because of their understanding, they could go out and do these incredibly painful and suffering things that have on an individual level have a lifetime effect on their families, but that also has a lifetime and a longer than lifetime effect on the world, right? And just also what came into my mind is, so many women and men sacrifice their families for things that are so small, things that are just so selfish. So how many families are wasted and children suffer because of that, like Satan's way, right? So it makes me really so grateful to know God and to know two parents and to have been touched in some way and raised up by two parents. Anyway, thank you. That's my reflection.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Dr. Bibi. All right, so yeah, not so much time because we have to run to UTS. So in terms of announcements, today is the GPA graduation. So if there's anyone from your community who's graduating, feel free to congratulate them. Yeah, happening at UTS, our Pastor Naokimi will be there to give the keynote message I heard yesterday. So if you want to hear him too, it's at UTS today at 9 a.m. Also, I heard that Ancestor Celebration is actually not closed completely. Actually, it's almost to the 21st or 22nd. You just have to send an email, all the information to Las Vegas, And so I don't have that information, but the website chonshinmuan.org should have the information to be able to contact them. And so please check that out, and so you can register for the upcoming event on Sunday. So that's about as much as announcements as we have for today. Yeah, to close us out in prayer, can I ask Hiroko-san, Hiroi? Yes.
Join me in prayer. 사랑하시는 하늘 부모님, 전진천 부모님, 예수님, 효진님, 진님, 할머니, 감사합니다. I'm so grateful. This morning, I could start quite new day from this beautiful morning devotion. Today, Pastor Nancy mentioned so many beautiful statements that made me so cry. Every parent and two parents, we wish to have a good fruit through our life. Our beautiful young member, second generation, stand up in front of us. It's the most beautiful things for our lives. I really appreciate in front of us. Pastor Naokimi, Les Fred, yes, Pastor Nancy, all young generation lead us every morning. How grateful it is. I really appreciate for that. I'm so grateful every morning, brothers and sisters. I can feel the goodness of God among our brothers and sisters. We are talking about gratitude, reflection about mother's memoir. How beautiful it is. It is the most beautiful things in this world. Every parent. Thank you. Lead each one of brothers and sisters to this beautiful moment, beautiful morning. We can start beautiful day from now on. So grateful. I can't express my words to you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm offering this report. Takahiro Hiroko Hiroi as a breast center family. Archer with most gratitude and gratitude to all brothers and sisters gathering here. Archer.
Ju, thank you. Thank you, Hiroko-san, for such beautiful prayer to close out. And thank you all for joining us for today's morning Hundoke. Yeah, I don't know what day it is. We're not counting the days anymore. It's not a condition. It's a lifestyle. And so thank you all for joining, and Today is day 6, so it's the day is the day God created you. That's right. So God made mankind as well as the animals that walk the earth today. And so appreciate everything. Appreciate yourself. And we'll be back tomorrow to rest on the 7th day. Thank you all for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and start your weekend. Bye-bye. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye,
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Stay subscribed. Drive safe, okay?
Oh, thank you.
Amazing Saturday.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. And hi, Anna. Good to see you, Poro.
Good to see you.
Hi, Sunny.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, bro.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Bush.
Bush.
Good to see you, Mr. Bush.
Goodbye, you both. Thank you.
Pastor Nancy, thank you so much. You always touch our heart. You always move our heart, Pastor Nancy. You're great. You're doing
Have a great
so
day,
well.
everyone. We have to close this meeting room now. In 5, 4, 3.
Barbara, good to see you.